Hello guys, my name is Anna and I'm a Ukrainian, and I have decided I will log daily from my country Ukraine since the start of this awful war with Russia. And in my daily videos I try to update you on the important real-life situations in my country Ukraine, and of course I'm always glad to answer your questions and to clarify some facts from our history, culture, background or whatever interests you. And today I want to speak about one event that maybe does not seem like a battlefield, but at the same time it is. And these are sabotage examples in the Baltic Sea of the pipelines Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2. One of the questions that I have received on email, do I think it is Russia or maybe some other countries are to blame for that? I do think it is Russia, and I will try to explain you why. But first of all, let's have a look at what actually happened these days in the Baltic Sea, in the beautiful Baltic Sea. Two countries, Sweden and Denmark, informed that there are leaks in the gas pipelines of Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2. It seems to me two leaks in Nord Stream 1 and one in Nord Stream 2, at least. All of that led to the dramatic fall of pressure and can spoil the transition of gas from St. Petersburg to Germany. So it influenced very many different countries like Denmark, Sweden, Germany, and many other countries of the EU. And I have this question, is it an attack on a NATO country? I think yes, because Germany is a NATO country that needs the gas, and acting and doing whatever you want is but an old tradition of Russia. And by acting like bullies, like hooligans, like criminals, they demonstrate total disrespect to any kind of negotiations. I think that the strong country, even during war, even fighting with the rest of the West, for example, would not do it secretly. But this is a very Russian style. And now this is a very complicated situation because, well, first of all, this is a signal from Russia to the world that you have to close your eyes on the crimes that we commit against the world, not just against Ukrainians. They perhaps will demand sanctions to be taken off or lowered. Also, they demonstrate that they can do whatever they want. They definitely spoil the infrastructure and businesses in the countries that depend on Russian gas. And also, they don't care about environment, because as one of the subscribers who emailed me lots of interesting facts about that mentioned, the sea is bubbling with that gas, and there is even a frigate, Absalon, if I'm not mistaken, that keeps the traffic away from this zone. So you see, with just 3 small leaks, Russia is able to cause so many problems: ecology, economy, nervousness, and once again the demonstration that they do not respect any kind of agreement, and so on. For Ukrainians, Nord Stream 2 was always a problem, because when the construction started, we were shouting out loud that this is a very strong signal that Russia will start full-scale war in Ukraine as soon as they don't need our infrastructure. The only need for Nord Stream 2 was to avoid Ukrainian infrastructure and to allow them doing whatever they want. And lots of global politicians decided to close their eyes and to say, well, maybe not. Well, maybe that's too crazy. Well, maybe that Nord Stream 2 will be good for us. So what do we have now? We have full-scale war in Ukraine and Nord Stream 2 not working. Which once again says that when you see that someone is a bully, you have to react when he or she or they or it are still tiny in their actions and they are not global. With Russia, people were too kind, people were closing their eyes, people closed their eyes on Georgia, people closed their eyes on Crimea annexation, Donbass, Luhansk, people closed their eyes on other things, and now we have we actually have the Third World War. Even if we don't call it that way, Putin already fights with the world, with the democratic world, with the free world. So to make you know more and like understand that this is a typical Russian behavior, I have decided to introduce you a little bit to the gas wars that we had with Russia previously. And well, first of all, I have to tell you that it is always a problem to live next to a country like Russia. So for many countries, not only for Ukraine, for the Baltic countries, for Poland, it is always a stress because they use multiple techniques to manipulate, to substitute, to pretend, and so on and so forth. And now it is on the peak, or maybe not yet on the peak with this nuclear threats and so on. But somehow you will see that when I will tell you the dates of these gas wars, they always coincide with the periods when Ukrainians want to tear their connections with Russia and demonstrate their pro-Western attitudes, like 2004 Orange Revolution, or 2014 a Revolution of Dignity. These are the dates of these gas wars. But let's first look at how it all worked. Well, back in the USSR, all of these gas pipelines, they were united, and Ukraine, being in the center of Europe, I hate this metaphor being a bridge between East and West, because you're never feeling comfortable on the bridge or in the crossroads, so I always avoid this comparison, but it's very popular in discourse about Ukraine. So very often we are compared to the gateway, to the bridge, to the crossroads, and it was like that for that transportation and for the gas and energy transportation and transfer too. That's why after the end of the Soviet Union, the majority of this pipelines, they stayed in Ukraine, and Ukraine stayed an important transit, perhaps the most important transit country. And very quickly, starting from 1993 and especially in 1995, they decided that they want to take away those pipelines and to return them back to the ownership of Russia. And they started their manipulations. For example, in 1995, they have counted the debt of Ukraine for gas, and they like changing prices, not during the budget year or something. And in demand for that debt, they wanted some of pipelines and some gas-related infrastructure. And there were lots of pro-Russian politicians, pro-Soviet, still ex-communists that worked actively in Ukrainian government and who were pushing these ideas. That's why slowly lots of important, vital infrastructure objects for gas transportation became the ownership of Russia and started nourishing their oligarchs and Ukrainian oligarchs who are like the descendants of Russians. I would say that this oligarch class that is present in Ukraine, definitely not that widespread as in Russia, but it is the result of these connections with Russia. It's not the Ukrainian-born product, it's the intoxication that we received from Russia, its resources, pipelines, I don't know, electricity and other things, because the majority of these oligarchs, they are nourished on such dig and sell economy. I like this phrase. I don't remember who taught me it, but one of my subscribers too. This was also 90s, was also the beginning of the career of Yulia Tymoshenko, who I consider a very pretty woman, but she's a very controversial politician, and she was very much into these gas schemes. And here in Ukraine, she had a nickname, Gas Princess, and much of her fortune of her business was based on this various gas business deals. And then the first real war dates 2005, 2006, just after the Orange Revolution. And to give you the clue what was going on, I will tell you that, like, for example, Russia bought gas from Turkmenistan for $44 and decided to sell it to Ukraine for $250. taking into account that we were in various agreements and they were using our infrastructure, that was like super high. And of course, always caused stress. And to make these prices lower, they were always had political or economic decisions, and they were slowly like trying to swallow some of vital objects, I don't know, or to make some pro-Russian decisions in the political system of Ukraine. And many people like being under stress, being manipulated, being afraid to not to have gas, or following what Russia wanted. The next problem was, of course, 2013, 2014. This is the years of the Revolution of Dignity. And apart from various illegal deals, they have annexed, they have stolen lots of our pipelines and lots of energetic infrastructure in Crimea and in the Black Sea. I don't know if you know, but Ukraine is very rich in gas too. And I have I always forget this word, so I'm looking at it. Lots of oil shales we have in the east of Ukraine, and some people say that these might be one of the largest, if not the largest, oil shales in Europe. And some people even claim that one of the major reasons of this war is war for oil shales. I personally believe that the main reason is this crisis, historical crisis, that Russia always wants to owe Ukraine, and its idea of empire is impossible without Ukraine. So for me here, ideology is number one and economy is like number four. But definitely this economic factor and the desire to owe oil shales is also present. And in 2018, there were lots of trials that even listened in Stockholm, and Ukraine won, and the result of this victory was quite problematic because Russians paid some debts to us, but then they lowered the pressure. And I remember it was in winter and it was really, really cold. And lots of us were asked to lower the temperatures in the houses. And it seems to me for a couple of days we did not have studies at the universities and so on. So Russians have decades of practice how to manipulate with gas prices and other things. And perhaps this is one of the last aces that they have and they want to use when trying to persuade Europe to forgive them, to accept them. But I personally believe that it is no more about negotiations, political negotiations, because they are criminals, and you do not negotiate with criminals or terrorists. And you see that these terrorists, they are already in the Baltic Sea that belongs to the European Union. They are swimming somewhere in the beautiful sea sceneries of Denmark and Sweden. They are destroying and ruining the plans of Germany. Why? Because they want to kill Ukrainians, because they want to continue killing them in other countries, and somehow civilized world does not like it. So I personally think that Russia is to blame for that, and this is just the first step, and they are trying in this shrewd manner to do bad things, but at the same time in disguise, just as they did with the annexation of Crimea, just as they do with this fake referenda and many other examples. So here we know it's Russians, but we cannot prove it, and it's so ugly. For me, it is worse than doing something bad openly. So I do hope you understand that we have to finish this war now. We cannot freeze the conflict. We have to fight back. We have to stop Russia. We have to make Putin fall together with his regime and that Kremlin. And then work with Russian society, gets normal politicians there, or at least close to normal politicians, and negotiate gas prices or whatever we want or need with them. So thank you very much for your questions and your emails. They inform me a lot, and I hope that soon we will be able to live in a better and safer place, and that is a place without Putin and co. Thank you once again for supporting my channel. If you like these videos, like them, and please subscribe, because this helps me to grow the audience and to update the world on the situation in Ukraine, being an ordinary Ukrainian. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons. I'm very grateful for that, but most importantly, I'm very grateful for the fact that you support my country, Ukraine. And we have to stay strong during this winter. We have to ignore Russian manipulations, and we have to fight for normal and peaceful and ecological world. Slava Ukraini!